First of all, I was born in Atlanta and grew up in Atlanta as well as in rural southwest Georgia, and finished Morehouse College in '54 and was accepted to Boston University School of Medicine. And I was very excited about that. When I arrived in Boston to go to medical school in the fall of 1954, that was my first experience living in an integrated environment, because I had lived in the segregated South all of my life. And so when I came here to BU, I was the one black student in my class. So I was very conscious of that, very concerned about that. But what I found here at the BU Medical School was a very welcoming, opening, supportive environment. And my 4 years here really were great years. First of all, tremendous learning opportunities here, and a very supportive faculty. And really, within a few months of my starting here at BU, I really forgot about the fact that I was African American. Really, that was the nature of the environment. So I formed a number of friendships. In '64, at the completion of that, went to join the faculty at Seton Hall School of Medicine in '64. I was there for 2 years, but fortunately I was recruited back on the faculty at BU here in 1966. So I came back here, and that was again a great experience there. And I was the first full-time black faculty. But my experience here was on the faculty was also very positive. And what happened was in 1968, in April, when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, that was a shock to all of us here, black, white, whatever. But what that caused us to do, and this really happened all over the country, we really sort of took a look at ourselves. And I noticed then that when I had graduated, there were 3 black students in the whole school. I was the one in my class. When in 1968, 10 years after I'd graduated, I was back on the faculty, there were 7. So we had made some improvements, but I said, well, gee, after all these years, we should really have more. Several of us really decided that we needed to change that. And so I went to meet with Dean Ebal at the time and said, we need to really undertake an effort to recruit more black students here, because I had a great experience as a student here. I didn't have a single incident where I felt that I was being discriminated against, and on the contrary, I had many supportive faculty who are supportive of me and my classmates, et cetera. I said, this is a great environment, but black students don't know about us. So Ebal said, well, gee, this is a great idea, but we'd have to raise some money. I said, well, if you will work with us, we'll work to raise the funds. So we ended up with about 12 of us on the faculty who worked to do that. So to make a long story short, we I think raised something like $40,000 or so. And on Thanksgiving of 1968, we had 24 black students visiting here in Boston over Thanksgiving weekend, each from a different college. So we had 24 black colleges represented there. And in the process of planning this, we invited the other schools, not only in Boston, but the other schools in New England, to participate with us. As a result of that, they spent the whole weekend here. We had plenary sessions telling students about what medicine is like, et cetera. Then each medical school had a room that all students could rotate through and talk about the schools, et cetera. The next year, the fall of '69, I think Harvard had something like 11 black freshmen. We had 7 here at BU. Every school that participated in that program had an increase in the black students. Today, when you have significant numbers of minority students, certainly I think I can understand the tendency for them to group because of shared experiences in history. But I think I would say there would be a risk to be trapped into that kind of association only, because in my view, you want to have people, whether they're doctors or engineers or business people, who really know how to relate to all kinds of people. And in medical school, that's a great opportunity to do that, to really learn whether white, Jewish, or what have you, whether other countries, etc. You can learn a lot. And, looking back, it's obvious that I learned a hell of a lot from my classmates. I think the time you spend here in medical school, as well as in other graduate programs, is a time to really broaden your horizons, learn what other people's values are, what their thoughts are, what their reasoning is, because that's something that becomes valuable and useful to you. Certainly that was the case for me as I proceeded along in my career, because then you can relate to people, you can understand what are their concerns, what is their history, why do they look at things this way, et cetera. So I think the time here in medical school is one, not to run away from your culture or your history, certainly have those relationships, but use the time to really learn about others and have them learn from you, because this really becomes a mutually reinforcing learning experience. Well, interestingly enough, when I came to BU, I was the first Morehouse College graduate to be admitted to Boston University. Now at Morehouse, it's a small college then, there were only 57 in my graduating class at Morehouse. But Morehouse, even then, really had a reputation for being a very rigorous institution academically, and that was so because in my class of 57, there were 19 pre-meds. We had a strong pre-med program. So when I came here, I wondered, well, how am I going to match up in terms of my level of preparation with my classmates, graduates of Columbia, Harvard, Amherst, Princeton, et cetera. These places I'd heard about. So I wondered, well, we had our first anatomy examination some 3 weeks in, and I got the second highest score in anatomy. Then I relaxed, because I then saw that my preparation was just as strong. And of course I did well here, because see, when I came here, I looked around and said, well, now, where are these black students who did their undergraduate work at Harvard or Cornell or Princeton? Didn't see them. And I said, well, gosh, they obviously had to be very bright to go to those places. And that was a mystery I really couldn't understand. Now, my own hypothesis, because I heard from some of these students later, is that oftentimes at these schools, primarily white schools, they will question, why are you here? You must be here because of affirmative action. You're not here because of merit. In other words, the environment that many of them had was always questioning their legitimacy, whereas my environment at Morehouse was reinforcing and supportive of me. I was told, as my classmates were told, we expect you to do great things. We expect you to be leaders. We expect you to take risks, etc. So from the standpoint of personal development, a lot of students at black colleges get that. Part of my leaving the faculty here at BU in 1975 to go back to Atlanta was when Morehouse College decided that they wanted to start a medical school that would be focused on training more minority physicians, both African American, Hispanic American, and others, because we still had a shortage of minority physicians. So having been born in the South, having been influenced by my parents and many others like them, I felt this was both an opportunity to do something significant, to change the South and in turn to change the nation, as well as provide opportunities and to improve our society. So those are the things that went into my thinking, because I was very happy as a member of the faculty here. I'd become professor of medicine and your chief of hematology. We'd started the hematology service at Boston City Hospital, had NIH research grants, had a hematology training grant for hematology fellows. Of course, my wife is from Massachusetts, and my 3 children are all born here. So in a sense, I was well established here. But then the opportunity came along. I thought about it. Of course, many of my friends here at BU, really gave me advice, and many of them were, doing what they thought was in my interest. But I remember Herb Mescon was chief of dermatology. He's a good friend. He said, Lou, are you sure you want to throw away your career? This is a big risk. This may not work out. You've succeeded here. you're well liked here and so forth, so why would you do that? And I understood that, and it was a risk. But for me, having grown up with the circumstances of my growing up and knowing there were many other youngsters like I was, but I had an opportunity that many of the others didn't have, so this was a chance to broaden those opportunities. So I understood and appreciated what the generations who came before me had done to advance equality, et cetera. And so this is an opportunity for me to do that, because we had the civil rights activities of the 50s and the 60s, and so that gave us the vote. But true equality also means when you have an economic stake in the society, you have political power, and that depends upon having a well-educated citizenry. So I felt that part of the strategy means not simply the right to vote, that's basic, but then what to do once you have that right, to become a businessman or physician or lawyer or political leader, etc. So for me, this was, while it was a risk, it was a chance to perhaps do something that would have a broader impact than what I was doing as a member of the faculty here. So those are the kinds of things I think the Latino community and the American Indian community, which has just been devastated here. So those are the things I think could be things that the other groups might think of, and also working together, because in the same way that my Jewish classmates and others really recognized and understood and empathized with the kinds of experiences I had had, and they were friends. Well, blacks also have empathy, say, knowing the kinds of things that Latinos or American Indians have. And so we realize that we can do a lot to not only help a lot of other people, but in doing that, that helps us too. That helps create a positive environment where people are not discriminated against because of their background or their color or their religion or what have you. That developing a true meritocracy where you can advance based upon your skills and your willingness to work, etc. That's what we all want to accomplish. I think the BU has really been among the leaders among U.S. medical schools in being open to students from all diverse backgrounds, and certainly starting back in '68 when the medical school, along with the rest of the university, really was shocked into a self-examination and decided, well, yeah, we now see that really there are more things that really should be done, need to be done, if we're going to have a truly integrated society and a truly open society. It also means that students and faculty and others here today have to not take this for granted, but work to be sure that if there are any vestiges that are left, and sometimes these vestiges may be things that people may not truly be aware of, that, as you know, there's such a thing as unconscious bias. That is, someone, for example, sees a black patient, and that patient may have pain. Sometimes they may be reticent to give them narcotics, medications for pain relief out of fear that, well, maybe this person is malingering and maybe a drug addict. Well, see, that's a stereotype. So there are many stereotypes that really are still there, and sometimes people are not aware of them. And so we have to really work at that. And interestingly enough, having been born in the South and having grown up there and having now gone back, in some ways, because the South had these issues out front there, they've wrestled with them. In some ways, they've made a lot more progress than in some cities in the North, where they haven't really thought that there are issues, and it hasn't really been an issue that they thought really needed attention or what have you. But I would say that in medicine, as you know, we're facing the whole question of cultural competence, unconscious bias, or not understanding the culture of the individual. And as you know, when you are a health professional providing services to an individual who may be fearful or in pain or confused or doesn't understand the system, you really have to be able to connect with that individual, to communicate effectively so that they will open up and share with you what their thoughts are, what their questions are, because if they really feel that they can't trust you, or that you might ridicule them, or that they might tell other people some secret, some personal information that could be potentially embarrassing. Well, if you really have that kind of barrier, then that interferes with your ability to provide good service to those individuals, because as a health professional, you need to have all of the information about that individual that you could get so that you could really make the correct diagnosis or judge what the therapy should be, and also have that patient cooperate and come back with compliance. Because one of the problems, as you know, we have in medicine, sometimes people don't take their medications because first they may not understand that they should take it, or they may think that this is not the right thing, or they may not come back for a follow-up visit and so forth. So there are a lot of things that go into that. And so by being open and learning how to communicate with people can make you a more effective health professional. First of all, I'd say that everyone in medicine, as well as in the other health professions, should make their decisions on the basis of what excites them most. Because you want to do something that is so exciting, that's so interesting, that every day when you get up, you can't wait to get to the office to really do whatever it is there. That's the first thing. But beyond that, I feel is to understand that we really have a great privilege, a great opportunity. That is, we've had the opportunity to become well educated, to enter a profession that is dynamic, that's interesting, to earn an income that is a good income here. And though I've always felt that should be a byproduct, it shouldn't be the main goal. That is, I really feel strongly that people should not enter medicine or any of the health professions with the primary goal of earning a lot of money. My position is you'll do well, but you should do well by doing good. So I feel that the health professions are a serving profession. You should really be attracted to this field because you want to make a difference in the lives of people. I think as long as you have that attitude of openness, of curiosity, of thinking, how should I use my time and my talents? It shouldn't be, simply, well, how do I become rich or what have you? To me, you'll do well financially if you focus on doing well professionally. And that should be it, because, while we all need to have money for housing and food and families and so forth, really the greatest reward is doing something meaningful in life, where you can look back at the end of a year, the end of a month, or the end of a decade and say, gosh, we did a lot. We accomplished something. We contributed this. Things are different because of what we've done. That is a kind of reward that money doesn't buy. One of the things that I learned in college was a saying of Francis Bacon, and that was, chance favors the prepared mind. And this is part of what our college president, Benjamin Mays, who talked to the students every Friday, would say, because he always had a saying, whatever you choose to do in life, you should do it so well that no man living, and no man dead, or no man yet to come could do it better. He says, if you have that as your standard, says when they're looking for people in whatever in your field, they will have to consider you. So you may not get the position, but it should not be because you're not prepared. As you know, the U.S. Census Bureau has projected that by the year 2042, with the growth of the Latino population, the black population, as well as people coming into the U.S. from Eastern Europe, from India, from Africa, from China, and elsewhere, our population 30, 40 years from now are going to be much more diverse than it is today. And if we're going to have a successful healthcare workforce, that needs to be a workforce that really can relate to this diversity in our population that we see coming. From my parents to my teachers to my college president, all of them were saying, in essence, we expect you to do good things. We expect you to do important things. We don't expect you to simply aspire to a life of vacations or luxury or whatever. We expect you to have a life that's important to you as well as to other people. Minority students, particularly, and that is this. We want and expect them to become leaders, to become contributors to society. That is, for me and many of my generation, whereas there were these circumstances that we lived through and had to endure, etc., that we felt were unfair, at the same time, we felt that as part of our responsibility to really work to change that. And in other words, we're not a perfect society, but to become a perfect society, all of us have to work to make that happen and not expect somebody else to do it. So that really is part of what we need. We need to have among all of our students, and certainly minority students, those who see themselves as leaders, as problem solvers, as ones to work to improve the community, to make sure that they don't waste their talents, that they really use their knowledge and the skills and the opportunities that they have had to really not only live a better, more meaningful life, but also to see that others have that opportunity as well. So I certainly would want to emphasize that all of us have to make our own contribution to that society that we feel we all want to have.